Hello everyone, welcome to Coxiral TV. It's online. I am Bala, I am a chartered accountant and I am the founder of Coxiral TV. You know what? There lived a king, and one day, he was announcing that, all the people were expecting some kind of a benefit, from my kingdom, from my ruling, please approach me. So everybody gathered in a place and people kept quiet. People did not want to open their mouth asking for something from the king, okay, out of fear, okay, or out of carelessness, or some people think that it is not necessary. Whatever the government is going to introduce or announce, I will accept. There is this man, who started asking, many things. He had many expectations. He said, I want clean roads, I want transportation facility, I want, a loan from government, and a lot of things. And people were laughing at him, saying that, when everybody is keeping quiet, why are you asking? But the king said, no, I really appreciate, because when something they expect from the government, it basically means that they are prepared to lead a good life. That's how people, when there is a government and if you are a common man, you need to have some kind of expectation about what you expect from the government. It basically means that you are prepared, you are well prepared to lead your life. If you are totally clueless about what is happening, so you will not expect anything, right? Likewise, Union Budget 2022 is going to be announced on 1st February 2022, and there are a lot of expectations, and there needs to be a lot of expectation about what you can expect, about what you can look for in this budget, whether it is going to benefit your business, your personal finance. And and people are clueless. There are a lot of videos online, and there are a lot of experts who are sharing their opinion and all that. So here we thought we should do a general assessment about this budget, about what is the current scenario, and what business owners and other individuals can expect from this budget. What is their mindset going to be, and all such in an interesting way we want to discuss. Okay, be prepared, and we are going to have a very wonderful discussion on the Union Budget 2022. Hello everyone, I am glad that Mr. Badri Seshadri, publisher of Keduk Padibagam, is with us today to discuss in detail about what people can expect out of this Union Budget 2022. And let me welcome Mr. Badri. Welcome to our show, Mr. Badri.
Thank you.
See, basically, business owners and individuals all across India, after this pandemic experience for the last couple of years, they are kind of basically disturbed, on many ways, financial wise and employment wise and a lot of other things. So this Union Budget 2022 has a big expectation among all those people. Okay, so we are here to discuss about what people can expect out of this budget, how it's going to impact the finances of the business owners and individuals, and a lot of other interesting things what everybody is looking for. Okay, so can we move on to the sections? Badari, individuals. Okay, so salaried class. Okay, usually what happens in the budget, they are the people normally targeted in terms of having more tax collections through them. So salary class people always have great expectations on the budget about what is it for me, whether any tax reduction is going to happen, any new benefits are going to be introduced. So what's your opinion on the expectations of individuals?
See, I think the governments, I'm not talking about necessarily the current term, but even in the previous term, there has been a consistent effort in reducing the income tax on individuals by way of increasing the minimum limit, etc. So today I think we should not really be looking for anything more, is my view. Instead, what the government should be looking at is to get hold of more and more people to get into the tax bracket, in the direct tax bracket, which means today it is easy to target the salaried class because the tax deducted at source really works, and corporations deduct the tax and give it to the government. The self-employed people, right? That's where now we have a gap. Plenty of professionals, right from be it in medical, in various consulting, etc. Perhaps are not fully in the tax bracket. I mean, in the let's say tax dragnet, if you could call it that way. So the effort of the government should be to get more people into that What is in it now? I mean, what should a taxpayer as on date expect from the government? I think there is already a fair bit of moderation. If by bringing more people into the tax net, the direct tax collection considerably increases, then a further 2, 3, 4% reduction, 5%, like how the corporation tax, the plan is there to bring it down. Something similar can be done for individuals as well, but I won't do it today. I'll probably give it another 5 years and try to see what plans the government has in bringing more people to pay direct tax. Okay. That's a point at which you should consider giving some leeway to the salaried class.
Okay. So is there anything that looks possible like for the salary class people? Like say for example the increase in standard deduction or basic exemption.
See, I don't see any reason to increase that standard deduction actually. A lot of rationalization has already happened. I have in fact concerns about a couple of other areas. For example, the home buyer. Right? Now today I would really question people on why you would even want to buy a house. Because it's not a good asset class. If you really look at the yield that comes out of that. Whereas there is a loading in terms of encouraging people to buy the house because the housing loan interest portion has certain deduction. So that's the general expectation is why don't we take 1.5 lakh to 2 lakh, then 2.5 lakh and so on. I don't see that as meaningful at all anymore because then you are encouraging somebody to invest in a house as opposed to the stock market, which delivers a much higher return. Right? So therefore, to go and encourage people by increasing that limit makes no sense to me. Even in the the other forms, be it on insurance, be it on various principal savings and on certain types of savings, I think loading in favor of certain types of savings as opposed to other forms of savings by itself is not the job of a government. Now, you may want to combine all of that and move it into one omnibus, basically push the standard deduction to a larger amount or, the tax bracket itself start moving it upwards. That's okay. But make it as simple as possible. This is what my view is today.
Sir, if you talk about this ATC, deduction, so there are a lot of eligible investments and other spend where people are eligible for a tax rebate, tax reduction. And on the other side, say government has a lot of sectors which need to be improved and for which they need money. Suppose if there is a proposal to the government, from experts like us, saying that, in order to improve those sectors, why don't you introduce a scheme whereby if the salaried class people invest on those sectors, they'll be eligible for tax rebate or tax.
This is exactly the kind of a place where I have a problem. Right? The investment in, let's say, the infrastructure sector, right? The reason why I should invest in that is because it is likely to deliver excellent returns to me, not the tax rebate. Right? Then you are sort of, signaling that, go in the direction. But what if my returns are not good? So I don't think government should really step in and say, for this I favor this, therefore I'm encouraging more of you. That's not necessarily a good idea. I'm okay with certain specific, let's say, senior citizen scheme. Or if they are given, that should be completely uniform. Bring the tax rate down if it is justified. Show that. I mean, the government can come and say that we are expecting if every taxpayer, supposed taxpayer pays taxes, our collections will be so much. When that happens, we will bring the tax percentage to this number. But that kind of a discussion doesn't happen. Invariably, just before the budget, it is always like, what will you give me? What will you give to my sector? What schemes will you give? What projects will you give? There is no holistic thought process.
So you mean to say that salary class people in this budget don't expect any great benefit? If there are no further tax implication for you, be happy about it.
Exactly, because in the last 6-7 years, you just look at someone who earns 1 lakh a month. What were you paying as tax 7 years back? To what are you paying as tax today? The taxation, the tax percentage to your income has considerably come down. I think it is fairly good as it is,
Okay.
and we should simply accept that as it is.
All right.
It's my
So,
view.
so you mean to say that whatever benefits which were introduced in the past years
It should continue.
It should continue.
It
All
should
right.
continue, and nothing more new that needs to be done.
All right. Okay. All right. The next important topic, GST. Okay. When it was introduced, the way it was projected to the business owners and the belief of the business owners is, if you compare it as of today, it is kind of a different. In the sense that people basically thought that this is going to be simplified, more simpler than before, and it is going to save them a substantial amount of money, business is going to flourish. A lot of beliefs were there. And how is it today? And what do you think a change has to be brought in GST in this budget? Is something that do you expect and you think is really possible?
GST cannot be handled in the budget by the very structure of it, right? It has to be, discussed in GST Council and decisions to be made there. Okay. But let us look at what GST has done to budget or the overall economy, right? One thing is that GST has, I don't know if the business owners thought GST was going to make their life easier, but the other side, namely the stability of the revenue and the sharp increase in the GST collections to the indirect taxes contribution to the government's income has substantially increased, and a high degree of stability has already been achieved. Okay. Tax evasion has been considerably controlled in the indirect tax. I think there is still a long way to go, but the direction is very clear. I can see the stability, I can see the increase. Your direct tax has not at all increased like that, which means a lot of evasion is going on in the direct taxation side of things. Indirect tax has drastically cut down the evasion. Okay. Can it be simplified? I think it can be drastically simplified. Okay. Keep cutting down exemptions, simpler rates, I mean 1, 2, 3. So you bring everything into the same regime.
Okay.
Don't give the special exemption to anything. Right? Pretty much let go of, because there is significant collection, pretty much let go of or keep a very, very low rate for all food items. Or simply don't tax the food. There is one problem in the zero rate tax, input tax credit cannot be taken. So to avoid that, that itself is a nonsense in my opinion. So keep 1% or something like that. Because I think input tax, the purpose of GST was to help on input tax. That you could take input tax credit and it is only truly value added. Right? Now, removing that for even the zero tax entities, next year I am going to make so much money. Very confidently. Even if the direct tax collection is this way, that way, indirect tax collection is so much. Okay. So I think it is time that we remove this 18% thing, which seems to be way high. A moderate, reasonable tax for a country like India, maximum tax, not more than 12%. And even after this, if things stabilize and our collections are substantial, 10%. So indirect tax, 10%, 5%, 1%, or something like that. So considerable moderation there would really make people happy.
Okay, coming back to another question relating to implication, or introduction of So usually what happens in a fiscal year, if there are any central allocation of funds to the respective states, in terms of say natural calamity or the last 2 years the pandemic, so that will have a deficit, in the central budget, and that will have an impact in the next year's budget. So this budget, Union Budget 2022, do you think the impact of the natural calamity funding and various the pandemic related things and all that will have an impact, and that will create an additional implication of new tax laws for people to cover the deficit?
No, I don't think so. See, even if you take last year, the year before last, the government had to increase its borrowing substantially because the whole economy collapsed. Last year, from a government standpoint, it didn't really have to borrow a lot of money, as much as what people expected. This year, though parts of the economy didn't really work, the rest of the economy did really function well. So I don't think there is a need for the government to unnecessarily borrow money. India has managed the last year much better in terms of deficit, relative deficits. This year I'm only expecting when the final numbers come out that it is only going to be pretty good.
See, there is a law, okay, on direct taxes, indirect taxes, and kind of stuff. So, when GST was introduced, it was basically said that there will be a disciplinary system in the whole economy, and the business also owners also accept, okay, everything is disciplined, purchase tracked, sales is tracked, and kind of so, and the collections have been satisfactory for the government and so on. Okay, at this scenario, do you think, not necessarily on GST, in general, do you think the government has to tighten certain norms on anything to bring discipline in the economy?
Well, like similar to GST, in the direct tax collection also, a lot of discipline has to be brought in. Right? In GST, you can actually relax certain norms. Right? I'm not saying that things should not be tracked.
Okay.
Things should be tracked. E-waybill should be tightened. All that is fine. But in terms of the paying frequency, or you collect and pay the tax, some leeway can be given to companies rather than now being unnecessarily repressive on the companies. But when it comes to direct taxation, the government has very limited idea. So the first thing is the TDS tracking, right? And that is made available in your income tax portal. So you cannot hide certain incomes. But still, people are getting paid income, which is not tracked at all. Right? It's not that it's my intention to point out a specific business segment, but let us take medical space. Right? I visit few doctors, and it is not necessary that all of them actually give me bill. Many of them don't. They collect in cash. They strictly even say no credit card. Right? They collect in cash. Everything only in cash. Now, whenever something like that happens, I am 100% sure that there is fraud happening. I know generally people don't like paying taxes, but that's unfortunate. You have to pay taxes. Direct tax reform is imminent. I don't know what the government is thinking. I don't know what systems they have planned, mechanisms, etc. But I really think that it is time that is a direction that we go to. And every single reasonable sized transactions are tracked, properly, given intimation that, hey, I know what you are doing. And then the tax collected.
Super. All right. So, very important question. See, the direct taxes, indirect taxes, whatever we have today. So, if you talk about the business owners or the salary class people or who pay taxes, they say that, it's unnecessary burden on me. And I understand that I need to pay taxes, then only the economy can grow, government can, take care of the nation and take to the next level and all that. So, at the same time, there is a proposal, recommendation to the government that, why don't you abolish all the direct and indirect taxes, anything income tax, TDS and GST, customs and whatever you call it as, and go for an expenditure tax. We call it as a banking transaction tax or the expenditure tax, whereby every individual or maybe grant a basic exemption of certain level of people above a certain level, you tax everybody at a minimal level. So, when they compare their actual taxes, if they pay income tax, GST and all other things as we all do today, vice versa, in comparing with the expenditure tax, and people would still see that there is a benefit of say about 10% or 15% all put together.
How?
There is a calculation, okay, based on how we spend today, our income and expenditure as of today and what we pay to the government through direct and indirect taxes, comparing it with if in case government does not impose a direct and indirect taxes on me, but only on my spend. Only on my spend, if I am going to be charged a reasonable, fee, a minimal tax, okay. And if I annualize it, okay, I will be saving good amount of money is a basic calculation, okay. So, what is your opinion on this expenditure tax, and do you think is going to really
I have 2 or 3 problems with this.
Okay.
Some are calculation problems. If you look at what a tax does is to tax, taxation is by definition non-uniform. Right? You are trying to tax more from people who are earning more, even if their consumption is very little, and not tax people who are earning less but may consume more. Right? And that has a rationale behind it. right? The second is that let's look at what is currently happening, right? All of us are paying certain amount of money. Government has certain expenditure, and how is it that suddenly government should still maintain a certain expenditure, and all of us will benefit? This will create, the moment you say banking transaction tax, it is something that is flowing through a well-regulated system, the bank. So every bit of money that I withdraw from the bank, I will have to pay a certain tax. So banks will be asked to collect. I don't know the mechanism. I'm just guessing. Bank will collect and then will pass on to the government.
Correct.
If I know this, I will build a completely parallel banking system. Right? Cash or Bitcoin or some cryptocurrency will be running because the banks do not know about that. In passing, you mentioned somewhere that people are ready to pay the tax. The percentage is a little bit lower. I believe that. For example, let's take it to some other area. Say the stamp duty for land and home registration in apartment or building registration, etc. Property registration, right? There, governments will directly benefit by constantly reducing that stamp duty percentage. People will put 100% in white.
Good point.
Right?
Very good point.
Today, a lot of shady transactions happen only to avoid the stamp duty. Right? So, people are always happy about moderate taxation and easy regulation, without going through all kinds of complexities. That you can do in direct and indirect taxation as it is. Post budget, outcome budget or outcome analysis, right? Now we are not doing that seriously. States and center should say, I allocated so much at the beginning of the year. What did you achieve at the end of the year? Right? Let's talk about that. And then you look at the net investment, the real cost. Right? Initially, when you say, I'm going to lay, let's say, hundreds of thousands of kilometers of road, highway, and you allocated a certain money. How much did you actually spend? How many kilometers did you actually lay? Therefore, what is the budget versus actuals? Now, that level of minute discussion of budget versus actuals in every sector. You allocated so much for water, hoping to reach so many homes. How much did you spend? How many homes did you actually reach? I'm sure governments will fudge some data because it comes from bottom up. But even with that, I will have access to it. I can go cross-check, verify, find out. So that is something that we should demand really seriously.
So you suggest that for a common man, he is informed by the government that this is what we allocate for the next year, but he is totally clueless at the end of the year whether it was actually being spent and or people.
What actually happened?
What actually happened? They would have done also, or really done better also in certain sectors, but nothing is visible. So coming to the last part of the session, in general. So what do you tell, the business owners and other individuals who are looking for this budget to have a mindset, towards this budget? What do you suggest?
Well, it is to not really bother or worry about the budget. That's what I would say. The budget is almost irrelevant to you, except if you come from the old world thinking, right? Which area they are going to reduce the import tariff by 0.5%. Then I will quickly change my business, go and make a hell of a lot of money. That's ridiculous, right? You have a vision, you want to be in a particular business, you should focus on that business. For the rest of us, this time I am not even going to look at the budget. I will wait for everything to be over. I will keep doing my work actually. End of the day, the entire budget speech is going to be available. Enough experts will summarize. Clarifications, you notice that invariably the second day there will be clarifications because people have misunderstood and the finance ministry immediately says, no, that is not what it is, this is what it is. Let them say all of that. So for every thriving sector, just forget about it. Just go and put your effort into building your business. For the suffering sector, you look for whether there is a sensible, something given to you so that you can come out of it. For the rest of us, it's business as usual. What I would say. But we will certainly discuss. After the budget, we will see if there is something dramatic or drastic that we couldn't even anticipate. We can certainly look at that point.
Wonderful. Superb. Excellent. So, This is a wonderful discussion, Badri. So, no, I see that as a general assessment of what a person can expect of this budget, what is the kind of a mindset they need to have, and the various topics like, expenditure tax, the GST implication, and various sectoral allocation of funds and all that. So, you have given a very generic, at the same time, very sensible idea of what people can look at it, how they can look at this is a very, very good discussion. And thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you so much. I hope you really enjoyed this video. Please share, subscribe, like, and comment. Thank you so much.